Picture this. Somewhere right now, a person sits in meditation, seeking enlightenment. Across the city, someone kneels in prayer. Down the street, another scrolls through self-help podcasts, searching for purpose. And in a laboratory, a scientist peers into quantum mechanics, wondering if consciousness itself might transcend the physical. Different methods, different languages, same ancient hunger. Why do we as humans relentlessly chase something beyond what we can touch, see, or even measure? From ancient scrolls to modern-day quests, humanity has been on a paradoxical journey, seeking transcendence in the face of life's biggest questions. Have you ever felt it? That tug, that quiet whisper in the back of your mind suggesting there's something more than bills to pay, groceries to buy, and email inboxes to clear. It's not just you. It's not even just your generation. This feeling has echoed through every human heart that's ever beaten. From the first Homo sapiens to look up at the stars and wonder, to you, right now, wondering why you're watching this. Tonight, we're going to explore a mystery. Not the kind solved with evidence and experiments, but one that deepens the more we examine it. We're going to trace humanity's cyclical search for meaning beyond the material, a pattern so persistent, so universal that it might just be the most human thing about us. Imagine a species that builds monuments to the unseen, dedicates entire lives to concepts beyond reality, yet constantly seeks logical explanations for everything. That's us. We are walking contradictions, rational mystics, scientific seekers of the sacred. The question isn't whether this pattern exists. The question is, why can't we stop? 35,000 years ago, deep in what we now call France, someone crawled into a cave. They carried fire, pigment, purpose. By flickering light, they painted on stone walls, not maps, not practical information, but something else entirely. Animals that seemed to move in the dancing shadows. Handprints, like signatures left for eternity. Symbols we still don't fully understand. Why? They had survival to worry about, food to hunt, predators to avoid, children to protect. Yet they spent precious time and resources creating images. Of what? Dreams? Visions? Gods? The paintings served no practical purpose. They couldn't be eaten, didn't make hunting easier, didn't shelter anyone from the cold, but they meant something. Fast forward to today. We've mapped the human genome, split the atom, and landed robots on Mars. We're the most technologically advanced version of humanity that has ever existed. And what do we do with this power? We build virtual worlds, digital cathedrals in the metaverse where avatars gather to experience things that aren't real. We spend billions on entertainment, art, music, things that exist purely to make us feel something beyond the physical. We create AI and immediately start asking it questions about consciousness, meaning, and purpose. We paint on cave walls still. We've just upgraded the caves. Here's what's strange. We're supposedly evolved for survival. Our brains, according to evolutionary biology, developed to help us find food, avoid danger, reproduce, and pass on our genes. Purely practical machinery. So why do we have this other drive? This impractical, inefficient, sometimes dangerous obsession with meaning? Consider the monk who gives up worldly possessions to sit in silence, the artist who starves for their craft, the activist who risks everything for a cause, the parent who works themselves to exhaustion not just to feed their children, but to give them something to believe in. From a purely survival standpoint, these behaviors make no sense, unless seeking meaning beyond the material isn't a bug in our programming. What if it's a feature? What if it's the very thing that makes us human? Think about it. Every civilization we've ever discovered, every single one, has had some form of spiritual or transcendent belief system. Desert nomads and island tribes, mountain kingdoms and coastal empires. Different gods, different rituals, different stories, but the same fundamental impulse. There must be more than this. Walk through any major city today and you'll see the pattern manifesting in strange new forms. The yoga studio on the corner, where people contort their bodies seeking not just fitness, but enlightenment. The bookstore shelf groaning under the weight of self-help titles, each promising to unlock your higher purpose. The therapy office where conversations probe not just problems, but existential meaning. The corporate retreat where executives pay thousands to sit in sweat lodges and ayahuasca ceremonies, desperately seeking something their corner offices couldn't provide. We've supposedly entered an age of materialism, of science, of rational thought. The age of religion is over, they tell us. And yet we're more obsessed than ever with meaning-making. We've just repackaged it. Meditation apps instead of morning prayer. Life coaches instead of priests. Psychedelics instead of sacraments. Different words, different methods, same eternal question. What is this all for? Here's what's truly mysterious. This search intensifies precisely when it should diminish. In ages of hardship, plagues, famines, wars, you might expect humans to seek comfort in spiritual beliefs. Opiate of the masses, as one philosopher called it, a coping mechanism for suffering. But the pattern doesn't support this. Some of history's most intense spiritual awakenings happened during times of prosperity. The Buddha was a prince who had everything material comfort could offer. Many of history's great mystics came from privilege. Today's wellness seekers are often those who've already filled their lives with material success. It's as if getting everything we thought we wanted reveals a hunger we didn't know was there. The successful executive who has the car, the house, the title, lying awake at 3 a.m. wondering, is this it? The influencer with millions of followers feeling utterly alone. The retiree who worked 40 years for this moment of freedom, now confronting the question of what it was all for. Material abundance doesn't satisfy the hunger. Sometimes it makes it worse, because the hunger isn't for more things. It never was. The question echoes across time. What are we really searching for? And why, no matter how much we find, do we keep searching? Stand at the base of the Great Pyramid of Giza. Really imagine it. You're one of perhaps 100,000 workers moving 2-ton blocks of stone under the scorching sun. This will take decades. You'll likely die before it's complete. Why are you doing this? Not for shelter. This building houses only the dead. Not for defense. It defends nothing. Not for commerce or agriculture or any practical purpose. You're building it because a God King said reality extends beyond death, and this monument will ensure his soul's journey to eternity. And you believe him. Now imagine trying to build the pyramids without that belief. Try to motivate 100,000 people for decades using only logical arguments and material compensation. Move these stones because the Pharaoh wants you to. Here's some bread. It wouldn't work. It couldn't work. The pyramids weren't just built with human labor. They were built with human belief. And that belief, that conviction that something exists beyond the material world, accomplished what pure material incentive never could. Throughout history, the greatest human achievements have been spiritual monuments. The cathedrals of Europe took centuries to build. Generation after generation of craftsmen who knew they'd never see completion, working on buildings designed to lift the human spirit towards something higher. The temples of Angkor Wat, the mosques of Isfahan, the monasteries of Tibet perched impossibly on mountain peaks. These weren't afterthoughts. They weren't hobbies. They were often the primary focus of entire civilizations. The biggest projects, the most resources, the finest craftsmanship. Societies organized themselves around transcendent beliefs and poured their wealth into making those beliefs tangible. Why? Because shared belief in something beyond the material created something extraordinary: unity among strangers, meaning that transcended individual lives. A story big enough to matter. Think about what religion accomplished at its peak. It made the farmer and the king believe they were part of the same cosmic drama. It gave the suffering a reason to endure. It gave the dying a context for death. It transformed random events into meaningful patterns. It made isolated individuals into communities. It was, in essence, the original social technology. But let's not romanticize this. These spiritual engines powered both creation and destruction. The same belief systems that built hospitals and universities also launched crusades and inquisitions. The same sense of cosmic purpose that inspired saints also justified slavery. The promise of heavenly reward convinced people to both acts of stunning compassion and horrifying violence. This is crucial to understand. The search for transcendent meaning is powerful precisely because it transcends normal ethical constraints. When you believe you're serving a higher purpose, the usual rules can seem negotiable. History is littered with atrocities committed by people absolutely convinced they were serving something greater than themselves. The paradox is that this same conviction, this belief in meaning beyond the material, also inspired humanity's greatest acts of love and sacrifice. The pattern repeats with eerie consistency. A spiritual movement emerges, fresh and pure. It attracts genuine seekers. It grows. Institutions form around it. Those institutions accumulate power. Power corrupts. The movement calcifies into dogma. Seekers become disillusioned. The cycle begins again. Watch the pattern unfold. Ancient mystery religions give way to organized faiths. Buddhism's simple teachings become elaborate hierarchies. Christianity's message of love becomes papal authority. Islam's submission to the divine becomes empire. Each transformation follows the same trajectory. The original insight, usually simple, often radical, gets packaged, systematized, institutionalized. What started as a direct experience of the transcendent becomes doctrine about the transcendent. The living becomes the literal. The mystery becomes the manual. And each time, without fail, a new generation arises saying, "This isn't it." The institutions have lost the thread. We need to return to the source. Protestant Reformation, Sufi mysticism, Zen Buddhism, every back to basics movement in every tradition, responding to the same problem. The spiritual engine has become the establishment, and the establishment has forgotten what it was searching for. But here's what's fascinating. Even as specific religions rise and fall, the underlying hunger remains constant. We don't abandon the search. We just change where we're looking. The monasteries close, but the meditation centers open. The church is empty, but the therapy offices fill. The prophets disappear, but the life coaches multiply. Different buildings, different language, same ancient engine, still running, still powering humanity's search for something more. The question is, what happens when the engine runs without the fuel of traditional faith? The year is 1925. You're at a party in Manhattan. Jazz plays, champagne flows, fortunes are being made overnight in the stock market. Technology is exploding, automobiles, telephones, radio, electricity in every home. The Great War is over. The future has never looked brighter. This is it, people say. We've solved the human condition. Modern life will satisfy all our needs. And yet, at this very moment of unprecedented material abundance, something strange is happening. A wave of existential despair sweeps through the culture. Writers speak of the lost generation. Artists create works of alienation and absurdity. Philosophers declare God dead and wonder what meaning remains. Scott Fitzgerald writes about people who have everything and feel nothing. T.S. Eliot describes a wasteland. Hemingway's heroes are hollow. The very people who should be most satisfied, those with wealth, education, opportunity, are asking, is this all there is? The pattern would repeat. The 1950s suburban dream. The 1990s dot-com boom. Today's tech revolution. Each time, more stuff, less soul. Here's the paradox that haunts modern civilization. We've built a world that can satisfy almost every material need, yet the existential void seems to grow larger. Consider today's tech billionaires. They have wealth beyond the dreams of ancient kings. They can go anywhere, buy anything, experience everything. And what do? They meditate. They microdose. They attend Burning Man. They hire spiritual advisors. They fund research into psychedelics and consciousness. They speak publicly about meaning crises and purpose deficits. Elon Musk tweets about the simulation hypothesis, essentially asking if reality itself might be transcendent beyond the material. Silicon Valley executives go on vision quests. The people who built the most materialistic tools in human history are desperately seeking something immaterial. Why? Because material abundance reveals rather than resolves the deeper questions. When you have everything you thought you wanted, the question, what do I want, transforms into what should I want, and then into why do I want anything at all? Material success is supposed to be the answer, but it turns out to be a question. There's a term psychologists use, the hedonic treadmill. We adapt to any level of material comfort remarkably quickly. The luxury becomes normal. The exceptional becomes expected. The new car smell fades. The promotion feels routine. The dream house becomes just a house. And then we need more to feel that spark again. But the pattern suggests something deeper than mere adaptation. It suggests that material satisfaction and existential meaning operate on different planes entirely. One doesn't substitute for the other. They're not even related. You can be materially destitute and feel your life has profound purpose. You can have everything money can buy and feel your existence is meaningless. The correlation goes both ways, or no way at all. This is terrifying for a materialist worldview, because it suggests that no amount of material progress will ever satisfy the hunger. We could solve poverty, cure disease, achieve immortality, and we'd still be asking what's it all for? In fact, we might ask it more urgently. Some thinkers have suggested we're entering a post-material age. As basic needs are met, humans naturally turn towards self-actualization, meaning-making, transcendent concerns. But is this really new? Or is it just the eternal pattern revealing itself more clearly once the material noise quiets down? Perhaps the search for meaning beyond the material isn't a luxury we pursue once we're comfortable. Perhaps it's a fundamental hunger that material comfort simply fails to mask. The starving person doesn't have time to contemplate existential meaning, true, but feed them, shelter them, secure their survival, and the question doesn't disappear. It emerges with full force, because it was always there, waiting beneath the surface needs. The greatest trick of material progress wasn't giving us more. It was revealing that more was never what we were actually searching for. So when traditional answers crumble, when organized religion loses its grip, when the old certainties dissolve, where do we turn? The pews are emptying. Church attendance in Western nations has plummeted. None is now the fastest growing religious category. Young people increasingly identify as spiritual but not religious, or neither spiritual nor religious. The institutions that once monopolized meaning-making are in decline. And yet if you look closely, something fascinating is happening. The search for transcendence hasn't stopped. It's proliferating, fragmenting, evolving. Walk into a bookstore and count the titles promising enlightenment, awakening, purpose, meaning. Visit a festival and witness thousands gathering for collective experiences of transcendence through music, art, and community. Check the App Store and find hundreds of meditation, mindfulness, and spiritual guidance programs. The death of institutional religion hasn't killed the religious impulse. It's liberated it. Now everyone gets to be their own seeker. Mix and match from Buddhism, Stoicism, neuroscience, indigenous wisdom, quantum physics, and self-help. Create a personal spirituality customized to individual needs. Is this progress or chaos, evolution or dissolution? Maybe both. Consider the psychedelic renaissance. For decades, these substances were taboo, associated with counterculture and criminality. Now they're being studied at prestigious universities, prescribed in clinical settings, and discussed openly as tools for confronting existential distress. What changed? We're rediscovering something ancient. Altered states of consciousness can provide experiences of transcendence, unity, meaning, not as doctrine to be believed, but as direct experience to be lived. The scientist who would never enter a church will take psilocybin in a controlled study and report encounters with the divine, the dissolution of ego, the interconnection of all things. The language is secular, but the experience is sacred. Or consider the explosion of meditation and mindfulness. Techniques developed over millennia by monks seeking enlightenment have been stripped of religious context and repackaged as neurological training, stress reduction, optimization tools. The transcendent becomes the practical. The sacred becomes the scientific. But the underlying experience, the sense of touching something beyond the ordinary, accessing a reality deeper than the material, remains unchanged. Then there's the search for meaning through community and purpose-driven work. People are leaving traditional careers to join social movements, environmental causes, community projects. Not for money, often they earn less. Not for status, at least not traditional status. For something else. Something they can only describe as making a difference, being part of something bigger, finding purpose. The language is secular, but the impulse is ancient. It's the same drive that sent missionaries into the wilderness, that inspired monks to take vows of poverty, that motivated saints to serve the poor. We've simply redirected it. The monastery becomes the nonprofit. The pilgrimage becomes the volunteer trip. The congregation becomes the activist collective. Different structures, same hunger for transcendent purpose. Some call this the re-enchantment of the world. After centuries of disenchantment, of reducing reality to matter and mechanism, we're discovering ways to experience wonder, mystery, and meaning again. But we're doing it without the certainties that once came with organized religion. No single story everyone agrees on. No universal truth handed down from on high. No clear path, no guaranteed salvation, no cosmic plan we can trust. Just millions of individuals, each searching in their own way, creating their own meaning, finding their own transcendence. Is this sustainable? Can a civilization thrive when everyone is making up their own answers to life's biggest questions? Or is this chaos exactly what we need? A marketplace of meaning where ideas compete, evolve, and the useful ones survive. History suggests this isn't the first time humanity has been here. The pattern has repeated before. Old certainties collapse, new seekers emerge, different forms arise. The search continues as it always has, because the question remains unanswered, and perhaps it always will be. So here we are, at the end of our exploration and the beginning of the real questions. Given everything we've examined, from cave paintings to consciousness apps, from pyramids to psychedelics, can we ever truly stop searching for meaning beyond the material? The evidence suggests no. Not because we're ignorant or superstitious, not because we haven't found the right answer, but because the search itself might be the answer. Consider this possibility. What if the meaning of human existence is found in the perpetual pursuit of meaning? What if we're not broken seekers failing to find truth, but successful questioners designed to always question? Every answer we find generates new questions. Every mystery we solve reveals deeper mysteries. Every summit we reach shows us higher peaks beyond. This isn't failure. It's the pattern. Now factor in where we're heading. Artificial intelligence is beginning to ask the very questions we're asking. Can a machine have consciousness? Can it experience meaning? If we create intelligence in silicon, does it need spirituality? Some AI researchers are already exploring these questions, wondering if advanced AI systems might develop their own forms of meaning-making, their own search for transcendence. And space exploration is forcing us to confront cosmic insignificance on a scale we've never had to face. As we reach for other worlds, as we contemplate our place in an unimaginably vast universe, the question of meaning becomes more urgent, not less. We're about to have experiences our ancestors couldn't have imagined. Will we carry the search with us to the stars? Will we create artificial beings who inherit our restlessness, our hunger for something more? All signs suggest, yes. Perhaps the most profound realization is this. The search for meaning beyond the material is what connects us across all times and all civilizations. The person meditating in 500 BCE and the person using a meditation app today are engaged in the same fundamental activity. The priestess at Delphi and the therapist in Manhattan are serving the same need. The pyramid builder and the cathedral architect and the app developer creating virtual worlds are all responding to the same impulse. We are one species, separated by time and culture and language, but united in our search for something we can never quite name, never quite reach, never quite prove exists. And yet we keep searching. So why do we as humans relentlessly chase something beyond what we can touch, see, or measure? Maybe because we can imagine it. And anything we can imagine becomes, in some sense, real. The invisible made visible through art, architecture, ritual, story, science, and search. Maybe because the material world, for all its beauty and complexity, doesn't explain itself. It doesn't tell us why it exists or what we should do with our brief time in it. So we create meaning, we seek meaning, we become meaning makers. Maybe because the question itself, the eternal why, is what elevates us from mere biological machines into something more. Or maybe the answer is simpler and stranger. We search for meaning beyond the material because we are the universe becoming conscious of itself, and consciousness cannot help but seek understanding. The search continues. It always has. It always will. And perhaps that's exactly as it should be. The mystery endures. The question echoes across eternity. And somewhere right now, someone is looking up at the stars, feeling that ancient tug, that whisper that there's something more.